There is a photograph that hangs in no museum. In it, two men stand face to face in a dim hotel corridor in 1978. They have the same jaw, the same eyes, the same slow, knowing smile that once made the whole world lean forward. One of them is Muhammad Ali. The other is not. And the terrifying thing, the thing that made the man holding the camera lower it without pressing the shutter again, was that for one full second nobody in that hallway could tell which was which. Pause. Title card. You see, a man who Ali's face. His name was Vincent Boyd, and he had spent 11 years becoming someone else. It started small. A bar in Trenton, New Jersey, a drunk man pointing at him across the room. Hey, anybody ever tell you? Everybody had told him. His whole life. The cheekbones, the mouth, the way his face fell into that easy arrogance when he wasn't even trying. Vincent Boyd had been born with the most famous face on earth stretched over a nobody's skull. And for a long time, that was a curse. Because here is what no one understood about looking like a legend when you are not one. Every mirror is an accusation. Every stranger's gasp is a reminder of the gap. You have the face of a king and the life of a ghost. People light up when they see you, and then the light dies slowly as they realize you are only a copy, a rough draft, a joke God played on an ordinary man. Vincent felt that light die 1,000 times. Until the night in Trenton when a promoter with a cigar and a cheap suit slid into the booth across from him and said the words that would swallow the next decade of his life. Son, how'd you like to be the greatest of all time? For money. It was easy at first. Nightclub openings, supermarket ribbon cuttings, kids' birthday parties for rich men who wanted to tell their friends the champ had come. Vincent would walk in, throw a few shadow punches, do the shuffle, growl, "I am the greatest," and the room would explode. For those few minutes, the light in people's eyes did not die. For those few minutes, Vincent Boyd was somebody. And that was the drug, not the money. The light. The way a room full of strangers looked at him the way they'd look at a god. And for once, for just a little while, believed it. He got good. Frighteningly good. He studied the tapes until his own gestures disappeared. He learned the cadence, the pauses, the poetry. He learned to become, and the better he became, the more the two men, the real one and the shadow, began to blur. Vincent stopped saying, "I'm playing Ali." He started saying, "I'm working." And then, one terrible night, alone in a motel bathroom, he looked in the mirror and could not remember what his own face looked like when it wasn't pretending. He had disappeared into the disguise. This is the thing about wearing another man's face for a living. You think you are borrowing him. You do not realize he is erasing you. Every gesture you steal is a gesture of your own you forget. Every crowd that cheers the mask is a crowd that will never, ever know the man beneath it. Vincent Boyd had traded his own soul for the applause meant for someone else. And the loneliest part, the part that kept him awake in 100 identical motel rooms, was this. Nobody had ever clapped for him, not once in his whole life. Every ovation he had ever received belonged, by rights, to a man he had never met. He was a beggar living on another man's inheritance. And somewhere out there, walking the earth at the exact same time, was the man himself, the original, the one whose face Vincent had stolen and worn until it fit better than his own. They had never met. Vincent prayed they never would, because he knew, the way you know a nightmare before you fall asleep, that if the real Ali ever looked into his eyes, he would see everything, the theft, the emptiness, the 41 years of a life spent being a mirror instead of a man. Then came Las Vegas. October 1978. Ali had just won back his title from Leon Spinks. The whole city was electric with him, and in one of its enormous hotels, in a low-lit corridor between a ballroom and a service elevator, fate did the one thing Vincent had spent his life dreading. It put the two of them in the same hallway. Vincent was in costume. He'd just finished a corporate gig, throwing fake jabs for insurance executives 2 floors down. He rounded the corner still half in character, the borrowed swagger still loose in his shoulders. And there he was, the real one. Standing alone by the elevator, no entourage, no cameras, just a tired champion in a sharp suit waiting for a door to open. The two men saw each other at the exact same instant, and the world stopped. Vincent could not move. Every instinct screamed at him to run, but his legs had turned to stone. He stood frozen, wearing the face of the man now staring back at him, and felt the full, crushing weight of the moment land on his chest. This was the reckoning. Ali looked at him, slowly, the way he'd looked at Liston across a ring, that patient, terrible gaze that read men down to the marrow. And Vincent waited for the anger, for the disgust, for the champion to call security, to demand who this impostor was, to shatter the fragile little kingdom of borrowed applause Vincent had built his whole life upon. Instead, Ali did something no one could have predicted. He smiled. Not the performance smile, not the one for the cameras. A real one, warm, amused, almost tender. "Well," Ali said softly, walking closer, studying the face that was his own. "They finally made a good one." Vincent's throat closed. He started. "I'm sorry. I'll go. I never meant. I never wanted you to." "Sit down," Ali said. There was a bench against the wall. The two men sat. Two identical faces under the dim hotel light, and for a long moment neither spoke. Then Ali asked the question that unmade Vincent Boyd completely. "How long you been me?" Vincent's voice cracked. 11 years. Ali nodded slowly. He looked down at his own hands, and when he spoke again, his voice was quiet, stripped of all its thunder. "You know what's funny? Some days I don't want to be me either." Vincent stared at him. Ali kept going, his eyes far away now. "Everybody wants the face, the name, the greatest. But you carry it too, don't you? The whole thing. And some nights you set it down and you look in the mirror and you think, who's the man under all this?" He turned, looked Vincent dead in the eyes. "You've been asking that question a long time. I can see it, because I ask it too." And there it was. Two men, one face, the impostor who longed to be someone, and the legend who was exhausted from being everyone's someone. Both of them, in that dim hallway, staring into the same terrible mirror and finding the same lonely question waiting in the glass. "Who am I when the face comes off?" "You spent 11 years," Ali said, "trying to be me, and I've spent my whole life trying to be worthy of a thing people invented and stuck to my face." He laughed softly, without joy. "We're not so different, brother. You wore my mask, but I wore it too." Vincent was crying now. He didn't bother to hide it. "I never had anything of my own," he whispered. "Every time somebody cheered, it was for you. Never me, never once for me." Ali was quiet for a long moment. Then he leaned in close. "Then let me give you something that's yours." Ali stood. He reached into his jacket and pulled out a small notepad, the kind he carried to sketch his little magic tricks and scribble his poems. He wrote something on it, tore the page, folded it once, and pressed it into Vincent's shaking hand. "Don't read it till I'm gone," Ali said. And then the greatest of all time did the last thing Vincent expected. He put his hand on the impostor's shoulder, the way a brother would, the way no one in 41 years had ever touched Vincent Boyd. "Go be somebody," Ali said. "Your own somebody. The world's already got one of me." The elevator opened. Ali stepped inside. The doors closed. And he was gone. Vincent sat alone on the bench for a long time before he opened the note. In Ali's careful, looping hand, it said only 6 words. The mirror was never your enemy. Vincent Boyd never performed as Muhammad Ali again. He hung up the costume the next morning, walked away from the promoter, the gigs, the borrowed light. For the first time in 11 years, he stepped out into the world wearing nothing but his own unremarkable face, and found, to his astonishment, that he could breathe. He was nobody again. But for the first time in his life, nobody felt like freedom instead of a wound. He took a job at a boys' club in Newark, taught kids to box. Not the fancy stuff, just the basics. Keep your hands up. Watch the eyes. Never fight angry. And the kids never once knew, that the quiet man teaching them had spent a decade being the most famous face on earth. Because Vincent never told them, he didn't need them to see Ali anymore. He needed them to see him. And slowly, gig by gig, kid by kid, year by year, Vincent Boyd built something no impostor ever gets to have. A life that was actually his. Years later, when Ali's hands had begun to tremble and his voice had faded to a whisper, a reporter asked him, half as a joke, if he'd ever met one of the men who impersonated him. Ali was quiet for a moment. Then he smiled that slow, knowing smile. "One," he said. "Best I ever saw. Wore my face better than I did." The reporter laughed. What happened to him? And Ali, the greatest of all time, the man whose face 1,000 others had tried and failed to steal, looked out the window and said something the reporter never understood and never forgot. "He took it off," Ali said, "and that was the bravest thing I ever saw a man do. Because that is the secret the world never understood about masks. We think the hard thing is putting them on, becoming someone bigger, brighter, more beloved than the small and frightened person we fear we actually are." But Ali knew the truth. The hard thing, the brave thing, is taking the mask off, standing in the world with your own plain face, your own quiet name, your own unremarkable life, and daring to believe it is enough. Vincent Boyd wore the greatest face in the world for 11 years. And he only became someone the day he gave it back. The mask made him famous. But the mirror, the plain, honest mirror he'd been running from his whole life, finally made him free.